Hello, everybody. This is Troy. I'll be presenting the webinar today for AvaTrade. Just a quick systems check before we get started on the crypto webinar. Give me an OK in the chat box if you're hearing me clearly and seeing my screen all right. Okay, great. I've got enough responses. Thank you. Looks like we're good to go. So some interesting movements on the cryptos of late. We had a big dip down in the markets and then a recovery back up. There's some nice price levels involved now that create a good deal of predictability for some potential moves. So we'll be taking a look at that today. A little bit of the fundamental news that's come in as well we'll take a look at. As we move forward, always keep in mind that all investments have risk, including investing in CFDs and Forex trading and options. Not everybody is successful, obviously, with trading. Some gradually lose away to the spreads and the swaps if you don't have a consistent strategy or if your risk management is off. So it's important that you get as much education as you can, and that's the direction that these webinars come from, is from an educational perspective, not meant to be financial advisement. From an educational perspective, to build your knowledge base, to help add to your existing strategies, or maybe start to build new strategies to find what will work best for you as you move forward. So that's always something. If you want to read the full risk disclosure statement, it is on avatrade.com. It's okay for you to go there and check it out anytime. And if you have any questions as we move forward about anything, please ask. Don't wait until the end necessarily to ask questions. We're going to be going over some ideas and some terminology and some strategies, and you can ask questions at any point in time. Although this slide makes it look like questions maybe are at the end. But there's a whole slideshow we could go over about the technology of cryptocurrencies in general. The technology is referred to as blockchain technology. It's a very secure, decentralized technology that allows for sharing of information in a very secure way, allows for transactions to be done in a very secure way, and in a way that's able to be looked back upon to see as a digital ledger, so to speak. And as people have gained more confidence in this technology, we've really started to see some great trending on the charts again. The technology is even being used for voting systems and for issuing private stock. So not just for cryptocurrencies, this blockchain technology has really become commonplace as of late. And so as people start to trust the technology more, they're really getting into trading and investing on cryptocurrencies more, which is really helping the movements to become quite predictable and trending nicely on the charts. So as we take a look at some of the latest news coming in regarding cryptocurrencies, we can see this is an article that came out today. Bitcoin and some of the other coins have sprung up after they dipped over the past day or two and have actually reached some resistance. And we'll look at that on the chart. We'll see that there indeed is some bullish movement that has occurred of late. And we see some more positive headlines regarding Bitcoin. The price rallied over 10%, and even the alternative coins as well. And it's always nice to see what are the headlines, what's happening in terms of the sentiment of the market. This is an interesting headline that just came out today. The Goldman Sachs alumnus is of the opinion that a major economy like China will eventually legalize cryptos in their exchanges. And so it goes on to talk about how China, and the US has been looking at whether to legitimize cryptocurrencies as well. And as governments start to take these things more seriously, we looked at an article not that long ago about how the US actually has cryptocurrencies described and listed now in the tax code. And so although cryptocurrencies aren't officially listed as a legitimate or recognized asset of investment, it is actually recognized as something within the tax code now, and within how to file them within your tax filings in the US. So it's starting to get a larger and larger air of legitimacy with cryptocurrencies. And this is just the latest story that I've seen. Stuff like this has been popping up somewhat regularly, where we start to see major countries, major economies talking about eventually legitimizing the asset class. And so this goes on to talk about some details of that, but it really starts to create some positive sentiment, at least not necessarily that the prices and the value of the cryptocurrencies have to keep rising, but that people will maybe more and more get involved with trading on them, with trusting them as an asset class to invest in, even if you're shorting it for time periods, or obviously for going long if you think the prices will go up. So that's interesting to take a look at that. And now, as most of the cryptocurrencies on our platform are paired against the USD, it's always nice to see, okay, well, what's going on with the USD of late? We know the US dollar was strengthened recently because of US-China trade negotiations having some positive news that came out yesterday and even heading into today, that they're getting close to a phase one deal. That helped new highs on the stock market and the major indices. US indices reached new highs yesterday. European indices and others also climbed as a response to the positive sentiment about US-China trade negotiations. And so the US dollar also strengthened as a result of that. And if we look at what's happening today on economic announcements for the USD, well, not much yet, right? There are some announcements coming up in about 20 or 30 minutes, some mid-level announcements with some decent impact potential to them. If those come in positive, that could help pull some of the cryptos down that are paired against the USD. Certainly the potential for some large movement later today as well. We see new home sales, which is a 3 bullhead announcement. That means higher type volatility expected with that announcement, and some other announcements coming in on the USD later in the day as well. So what we do when we look at that type of announcement schedule for the day on the USD is we don't have to predict what those announcements will be in terms of positive or negative, but we at least can see that there's a potential for some volatility, for some strengthening or weakening of the USD today as it's paired against cryptocurrencies. Okay, so in general, positive sentiment here for cryptocurrencies on these headlines, and potential for strengthening or weakening or volatility on the USD as well, with a large number of announcements today on the USD. So then we head in and we say, okay, what do the charts look like? And we'll take a look at my demo account here to look at the movements. These are 1 hour candles that we're looking at. And as we start to do our technical analysis, let me ask, why is it that cryptocurrencies are lend themselves to being very good in terms of responding to technical analysis? Support levels, resistance level, trends, that sort of thing. As you draw them out and map them out on the technical analysis side of things, why do cryptocurrencies tend to respond better to technical analysis many times than other assets? What do they not have? A cryptocurrency, Bitcoin doesn't have what? Or Ethereum doesn't have what? Like the USD does, like the Euro does. Doesn't have a country to call home, right? Remember, we talked about cryptocurrencies being decentralized. And so whereas the USD, the Euro, the Great Britain pound, the Australian dollar, etc., they're driven by economic announcements and the economic condition within their country, right? And many times that messes up the predictability of the technical analysis. Well, when we're looking at Bitcoin or Ethereum or Neo or any of the other cryptocurrencies we offer, they don't have a country to call home. They're decentralized. And so they act more like gold, right? They're not tied to any one country's economic announcements. They kind of are functioning in a place of their own, separate from the economic environment first, and then they also respond to what they're paired against and to some fundamental news that might come out regarding cryptos. Okay, so it's very nice to trade with technical analysis with cryptocurrencies. And if there's fundamental news, we look at it like we did before we got going. But cryptocurrencies are very responsive to technical analysis. And we'll just take a quick look at Bitcoin as an example. Let's look at some technical analysis. This would be a support level, right? Support, these are 1 hour candles. Support, support. What do we call this candle that breaks the support? A breakthrough candle, good. So this breakthrough candle broke this support level. And what happened with the candle once it broke the support? We see a strong downward movement, okay? That's typical once a support level gets broken. We see whatever momentum caused the support to break it many times results in a continued larger movement on that candle compared to the candles prior to it. Because it took momentum to break this support. In this example here, that momentum carried on, and we can see it in that next candle. Yeah, exactly. There's no one regulation on cryptocurrencies in general. Good point. And that helps things maybe respond to technical analysis very well as well. So here's one example of an easy move. What kind of pending order could we have had right here with this broken support? After you saw the support, it breaks it. What kind of pending order would it got in on a sell as a support broke and paid off nicely in the following hours? Yeah, exactly. Sell stop. Many of you are listing that. You could do a pending order. Very simple. If let's say you saw this support level, you saw support, and you're thinking, boy, if it breaks that support, it could plunge, and you click on Bitcoin in this case, and so we would just find Bitcoin in the list of assets here, and then switch it to pending order in the type. Buy, stop, sell, stop, sell, stop, sells from a lower point. And you could program it when the movement was up here showing support and testing the support. You could have programmed it that if it broke the support to sell from a lower price, that would be your at price, to program it when to sell if it got to that point. So that's an example of selling from a lower point with a sell stop. You also could have programmed it above the resistance right here to buy if it broke. That would be a buy stop. You don't have to know which way it was going to go. You could have prepared for both. And you see it broke the support and you'd have been in on a nice long run down. Okay. When the next support level formed, which was right about here. Okay. Support, support, and broken. There's another run. Another sell stop could have paid nicely. And so we see that occurs many times in the history. But then we say, okay, well, what about now? What's happening now? We see there was a strong run up, and let me get rid of that line I drew. It's always nice to look at the history and say what could have been. Well, let's look at what could be. Okay. We saw the article. It said bullish run up, 10% gain on Bitcoin recently. And it also alluded to the fact that it reached some strong resistance. Okay, we see that. The article's not lying to us. Here's the resistance, resistance, resistance. Here's that big run up right here. Okay, resistance, resistance. Do we see a support level? We do. Support, 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 and it's trying to test the support. What kind of pending order could we put down here to prepare for a broken support? We just talked about it in the history. We showed an example of how it would have worked a while back. What kind of pending order could you put in case this support gets broken? Simple technical analysis strategy. If it breaks the support, you could potentially expect a run downward. If you want to sell from a lower point, if it breaks the support, you could get on on a sell from potentially somewhere below the support level down here. What kind of pending order would we be looking at? No, not a sell limit. Sell limit would sell from a higher point. That would be if it comes up to the resistance up here. If it came up to this resistance line and you wanted to sell down from the resistance, that would be a sell limit. Okay, sell limit sells from a higher point. Sell stop sells from a lower point. Good, yeah. Sell stop would be if you want to sell if it breaks the support. What if you wanted to buy up from this support level? Yeah, exactly. You could do a market move, right? If you want to buy from the support right now because there's been positive sentiment on cryptos, we looked at the articles, there's been a bull run up. It's testing the resistance a while ago. If you think this could bounce back up off the support, you could simply do a market buy right now, right? I'm not telling you to do a market buy. I'm saying if you think it'll bounce off the support, you certainly could do a market buy. It is testing the support right now. And you could back it up with a sell stop in case you're wrong. If you were buying off this support right now, if you're going with the fundamental news that showed some positive sentiment for cryptos right now, and you buy up off this support right now, where might you put your stop loss? Where might you put your stop loss? Some of you say you don't trade with stop loss. Okay, that's one way of doing things. If you're managing your risk with a stop loss, which many times makes sense to do, depending on your style of trading and your risk tolerance. Yeah, some of you are typing just below the support. If you recognize this as a support level in the market, you'd say if you're buying now, if you're doing a market buy, you might put your stop loss just below the support. Yeah, exactly near the same spot where you'd get in on a sell stop. Okay, the same reason you would sell from this location because the support was broken is the same reason you might get out of your buy because you say, the support's broken. I must have been wrong about it bouncing off the support. So you could risk just a small amount. If it breaks the support, get out on a buy. And where might you take your profit on a buy if you got in on a buy? Just before the resistance up here. Okay, we know there's resistance here, here, here. So if you took a buy, you might get out about 3 times the potential profit compared to your risk to the stop loss in that setup, right? If you're taking profit up near the resistance, which is up about triple the distance of what your risk to your stop loss would be. So in that sort of setup, you're going with the fundamental news. You're maybe trusting the support level. You're limiting your risk maybe with a stop loss below the support, and you have a potential profit about 2 or 3 times what you're risking. You could be wrong 2 times and right once, and theoretically profit, right? Or at least break even with only maybe a 33% success rate on that sort of setup, where your potential profit is triple maybe what your risk is. Okay, so this sort of thing, if you're right technical analysis wise, even 50% of the time, and you reach the potential profit you're going after even half the time, you could be profiting very nicely. And if you look at the historical movements on the chart, there's probably not a lot of reason why you shouldn't be successful at least 50% or greater of the time. Okay, if you pick your entry points in a nice fashion and manage your risk in a way that makes sense for you. Okay, type okay if you're with me so far, or if you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions. Okay, and I want to point something out to you so that you can realize that the crypto market really does move as a market many times. It's not necessarily specific to one asset. And what I mean is, look at the movement of Bitcoin and look at the movement of Ripple. You see a gap up right here last week on Ripple. Look, Bitcoin also gapped up the same day, right? Ripple gapped up, Bitcoin gapped up same day, followed by a strong downtrend. Guess what? Ripple also had a strong downtrend, followed by a recovery up. Guess what? Bitcoin also had a recovery up, followed by the formation of a resistance level and a support level. Same thing here, resistance and support level. Okay, so Ripple, Bitcoin moving almost exactly the same. What about Ethereum? Same movement, isn't it? Ethereum's moving the same. What about Litecoin? Looks similar, doesn't it? So you can see that the cryptos right now are moving as an asset class, moving together. Now, if you think the asset class has become predictable, if right now you believe that, hey, there's a resistance level and this is starting to downtrend, and you think you can predict that this will go down, or maybe you think you can predict that this will continue to climb, rather than trading on an individual crypto, which may be some breaking news about that one crypto messes up the movement of that one asset, whereas the others might continue to move as an asset class as you thought they would. What could you trade on instead of an individual crypto if you're more certain of the movement of the whole asset class as a group rather than an individual cryptocurrency? What do we now have on the platform that allows you to trade on a group of cryptos at once? Just like the Dow Jones is a group of 30 major companies, the NASDAQ is a group of 100 major companies at once, which helps to balance things out. And if an outlier goes the wrong way, the major indice can still maybe move the way you predicted, even if one company behaves unpredictably, kind of stabilizing things by using the indice rather than trading on an individual stock. Well, cryptos can behave the same way. You could get maybe an air of more predictability, more stability by trading on a group of cryptos together rather than an individual crypto. Do you see that we have an indice now for cryptos? Okay, here, Crypto 10. You see that? Crypto 10. It's the top 10 crypto indices by traded volume, all packed together in one indice. And look, it's moving just like the individual indices we looked at, because it's made of those indices. But what the indice does that an individual cryptocurrency doesn't is, if let's say you're trading only on NEO, and NEO has some crazy story about NEO only, and NEO goes flying in an unpredictable fashion, guess what? The indice is weighted more with the other 9 cryptos and won't get thrown off course so easy, and maybe still behave in the predictable fashion that you predicted, whereas the individual crypto that's not the full weight of the indice might have messed you up trading on the Crypto 10. Maybe it was more stable and you're able to stay with it better. Type OK if you're with me with that concept of an indice maybe lending to itself a bit more stability in your trading, a bit more predictability, rather than trading on just an individual asset. Okay, so if you're looking at Bitcoin and you say, okay, looks like Bitcoin's downtrending right now, but certainly it's been bullish. And you're saying, I'm looking for a spot maybe to buy up, or I'm looking for a spot to sell, and you do your technical analysis like we did, you find your support and resistance levels, you prepare your trades. What could you do to diversify? You could not only trade on crypto, but you could say, I'm also going to trade on the Crypto 10. Instead of putting everything on, in this example, only Bitcoin, you could put some of your position on Bitcoin or on Ethereum or on NEO, and you could put part of your move on the Crypto 10 as well. Maybe diversifying and stabilizing that crypto market move across more than one asset. Okay, and many times it can be wise to diversify your investing when you're trading on things. Not always, but many times diversifying can help. Okay. If there are any questions, comments, by the way, as we're going, please type them in. I'm happy to address them as we go. Now, what's interesting is we've found some correlation of late between cryptocurrencies and what asset that's considered a safe haven? Anybody? You're asking about NEO, and then we'll talk about the safe haven relationship we've seen with cryptos lately. Sure, let's take a look at NEO. NEO looks like it's downtrending currently, just like the other assets. The resistance level was reached. Yeah, gold is what I was referring to when it comes to cryptocurrencies mimicking a safe haven of late. And we'll take a look at that before we end things. But yeah, we see NEO is also downtrending, forming a bit of a support level. If we look at NEO, we could do the same as we did with crypto. I mean, with Bitcoin and Ethereum. We see a breakthrough candle here. We see support. We see it testing the support right now, just like with Bitcoin, where we drew the lines. You could take a shot at a market buy off the support. If you're looking to scalp, you could have a take profit near this resistance level right up here. Your risk would be short, of a small risk below the support. Potential profit about 3 or 4 times the risk up to the support level if you want to take profit. I mean, up to the resistance level if you want to take profit near that resistance where I'm pointing. Okay, that's one example of something you could do. I'm certainly not saying that's the move you have to make. But if you think this will continue to be bullish, you could trade up off that support with a stop loss limiting your risk down here somewhere. You also could have a sell stop ready in case it breaks the support. If you like to do 1-2 type moves, a 1 market move backed up with a number 2 pending move in the opposite direction. Okay, so NEO looks also like big opportunity potential here for some movement as it decides what it wants to do off this support level. Okay, very good question. So let's take a look at gold, see what's happening here. Let's look at gold. If I can find it, right here, I'll just type GEO, and there's our gold. Okay, and actually, I'd like to compare gold to the indice. So let's compare to the crypto 10. So on the left, we've got crypto 10. On the right, we've got gold. Let's go 1 hour candle to 1 hour candle. Now, the size of the movement isn't always the same, right? But the direction can be the same. And let me go to 30-minute here and 1 hour candles here. There's 30-minute. Okay, so we see cryptocurrencies with a run up, right? Followed by resistance, and the most recent hours dropping. Okay, we see that bull run up, resistance with ranging to the side, followed by downtrend these last 3 hours. Okay, see red, red, red. What do we see on gold? In the same hours, we see bull run up. We see resistance formed, resistance, 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 and we see downward movement in the last 1, 2, 3 candles. 1, 2, 3 candles. Okay, so it's not exactly the same, right? But we see a good deal of similarity right now in the past day, and sometimes one indicator, one asset might lead the other. Okay, one asset can lead the other. If you find a relationship where over the past, let's say several months, you see when one asset does something, eventually the other follows it. Maybe not all the time, but if it happens enough that it gives you a heads up that you might be able to predict what the other asset that seems to be following the first asset does, it can give you an advantage. Okay, what I've seen with the cryptos and the gold is that they're not the same all the time, certainly not. But there's been enough similarity that if one does something strongly, the other has been following quite a bit. Okay, if you time it right, you have the potential to have a nice profit with a nice heads up from the other asset. What I've seen is there's not been one always leading the other. Sometimes it's the cryptos leading gold, and other times it's gold leading the cryptos. Okay, so what do we see happening here is in the last 3 hours, they're moving together. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The cryptos have reached a support level. Let me draw the support level right here. Support, support, and they're holding tight on the support. The crypto 10 has not broken this support level. Where is gold? Gold has reached a bit of a support level right here. 30-minute candles. Support, back up, support, hanging tight on this support. Okay? So if you see gold shoot down below this support, 30-minute wick right here and right here and right here. Okay? This was a resistance level here, which is now support here and here. You can see it. Resistance up and back down. Resistance and then a breakthrough, and then it became support and support. Look, gold is breaking that support as we're watching it. You see that? Gold is breaking the support as we watch it. Testing it, testing it. If gold shoots down and breaks all the way down here, you could potentially use that to help you make a decision whether you might want to prepare a sell stop below this support level here. Okay, so it's something to think about. If you see a pattern that seems to mimic each other on the chart, you could take a shot at it. There's no guarantee that if gold breaks down and breaks the support, it hasn't broken it yet, it's testing it. If it breaks down, there's no guarantee that means cryptos will break. But you could prepare a sell stop if you think you see a relationship between the two. And then if it happens again, like it happened here and here, here and here, if it happens again, then great. You've taken advantage of it. If not, limit the risk in a way that makes sense to you. You don't have to be right every time. Okay? It's just an interesting relationship that I've noticed. Any questions so far? Okay, great. Let's take a look at some of the maybe the less popularly traded cryptos. Let's look at Litecoin. What's Litecoin doing? Same thing, right? Same thing. And Litecoin, you actually, if you look at Litecoin on the 30-minute candles, what's the market doing here? What's that mean when the market, when this is happening? The range is getting tighter, right? Tighter, tighter, tighter. What has to happen soon with Litecoin? What has to happen soon? Yeah, probably the market has to break out of this tightening pattern, right? The market is getting tighter and tighter. We see it tightening. High points, low points, high points, low points. It's narrowing. The market is narrowing. It's getting tighter and tighter. You're either going to have a breakthrough on this tightening up, or you'll have a breakthrough of this tightening going down. Doesn't mean once it breaks through, it has to keep running in one direction, but many times we do see that. As the market tightens and tightens and tightens, it's waiting for a breakthrough, and as enough volume starts to trade on it, boom, it breaks through one way or the other, and you potentially could have a significant run after a breakthrough like that, after a tightening market. Okay, so what kind of potential trade could we prepare right up here at a price above the tightening market? Would be a buy stop, and you could prepare below the tightening market a sell stop. Yes, Sianda, I do see that the formation on the Bitcoin USD potentially was forming a head and shoulder type setup, maybe for a reversal. And if you see that and you think it's a significant reversal further than the small ranging that has occurred, set it up. Do your technical analysis, find your entry points. It really does work well with cryptocurrencies as you start to use that type of technical analysis. You don't win every time, certainly, but the potential is there for huge movements. It really is. And you start to recognize those formations, and you can see bullish run up. That gives you the potential for a continued bullish run if it breaks through, or a potential large reversal if it pulls back down below the support. You see it getting ready. And remember, this is part of the crypto 10 also, right? So it's waiting for a breakthrough one way or the other, right? Maybe one asset moves before the whole crypto 10. Think about that. What if we do this? What if I put Litecoin here, and I put, because Litecoin looks like it's poised for a breakthrough before some of these other assets, and then I put the crypto 10 paired next to Litecoin. So let's do that. What if Litecoin breaks through first and runs down, takes a huge run down? What if Litecoin spikes through this tightening market and you see a huge run down, but this hasn't made its move yet and hasn't broken the support? If Litecoin is part of the crypto 10 and Litecoin breaks its support and goes running down, what might you anticipate the crypto 10 then might do? It might give you a precursor as to what the larger crypto market is getting ready to do if one of the assets makes its move before the index does. Okay, so sometimes you can look for parts of the whole to make their move first, and then help that give you an idea of what you think the larger group might do afterwards. So it's an idea as well as to pair the crypto 10 against something that you think's ready to make a break, and then that can help you make a decision as what to do with the indice. Okay, because sometimes individual assets move before the greater indice. Really, it has to, right? They don't all change at the same time. So the indice is slower responding. Remember, we said the indice has more stability, doesn't respond as quick. So if you start to see individual assets, like for this example, Litecoin, make a break in one direction, then you can say, okay, the slower moving indice, maybe I've got a heads up as to the direction the indice might move eventually. Because it's more stable, it responds slower, but may eventually move in that direction. Okay, and that's an idea I've seen work quite well to raise the percent time that you're right by just enough to become profitable. Okay. All right, any other input about things you see on the charts or assets you'd like to look at? All right, listen, guys, let's take a look back at the economic calendar. Let's see what came in while we were going. Just about, I don't know, 7 minutes ago, we had some positive news come in on the USD. Better than expected trade balance for the US. Listen, Trump's trade war might be helping the US there, it looks like, right? The trade balance is getting better than expected by quite a bit. It was expected to be negative 71 plus billion, only negative 66 plus billion. It's headed in the right direction for the US on the trade balance. What does that do for the strength of the USD? Probably helps strengthen it. What does that do for the likelihood of breaking this support level? What are most all of the cryptos in the crypto 10 paired against? Yeah, exactly, the USD. If the cryptos for the most part are paired against the USD, and the USD has reason to strengthen now because the goods trade balance was better than expected just less than 10 minutes ago, reported out of the US. If that's good for the US economy and tends to strengthen the USD, it's more likely to break the support now as the cryptos are paired against the USD than it was before that news came out, right? It doesn't mean that the support level has to be broken, but it does mean that you've got a bit more fundamental news now to consider. Good news for the USD here that just came in. You can consider that news when you decide what direction you would prefer to trade on the cryptos right now. and you just added maybe one more thing to the checklist as to why maybe that support level could be broken. We just got good news on the USD, right? Strengthening USD could potentially pull the cryptos down a little easier than if the USD was not strengthening. So just one thing of many to consider. It's not the be all end all to make your decision, but it's another thing to watch. Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you all for attending. Keep your eye on those USD announcements coming in later today as well. We've already got positive momentum with that announcement that just came in for the USD, lending the ability for cryptos maybe to pull back down more as the USD strengthens. Right? Again, no guarantees. Cover yourself on the risk side as is appropriate, but make the moves that make sense to you both fundamentally and technically. Okay. All right. Thank you all for joining. There's another webinar tomorrow that we'll be doing afternoon, late morning, afternoon time. Please feel free to join tomorrow as well. Okay. All right. Bye for now. Good luck with your trading.